We are online and together. Yes. So clean. I'll make a video for you, Yuria, unless I clean forget. I clean forgot. I think that's probably the most common collocation. I'll have to think of some more collocations to go with it, Yuri. So anyway, next stream is going to be on Thursday, which will be the 16th of January, and that will be at 3:30 p.m. UK time. So let's see. Hi to Alexander, hi to Julia, hi to Manisco, hi to Oksana, hi to Patricia, hi to Vicky, and hi to Yuri. So let's see. A brazen face sigh, nigh, guy, fly, and dry, and shy, and various other ones as well. Okay, this was about some weird words that you can't really translate into other languages, and this one I can't even pronounce. So Cûme, well, anyway, so it's something in Sarkese, meaning how are you. This phrase comes from a language on the island of Sark, a British Crown Dependency, located, placed, positioned, localised close to the French coast. Yeah, hi Lando, lovely to see you. Serendipity, by luck. So located for Lando, located for Julia. Serendipity is just pure luck, Yuri. Located for Oksana, located for Alexander. Notice if you place or you position it, somebody is putting it. And good morning, Victor. And localize, normally to localize is to make a text sound suitable for a local audience. So located for Vicky. Yeah. Looks a bit Czech to Alexander. Okay, Sark. This is near the French coast, near Normandy. Okay, located, situated. That sounds pretty good to me. So located is definitely the right answer. Let's go on. Sarkese only has 3 native speakers left. It's an old variety of the Norman language, which itself developed when Norman Vikings settled in what is now Normandy in France, and their language married, allied, bonded, merged with that of the local population. Can you have pips on lips and hips when you go on a trip on board a ship? I love it. Okay, you're starting to get a Dr. Seuss vibe, Patricia. So Yuri says Sark is amazing. Okay, so merged for Oksana, merged for Yuri, merged for Julia, located for the previous one for Patricia, bonded says Alexander, merged says Typhor, hi Typhor, nice to see you, bonded says Vicky. Okay, so firstly, their language married to, not married with, it's normally married to. Married for Jack, and situated, located for the previous one for Patricia. And their language bonded with, merged with. Okay, Nightingale says bonded. This is very interesting. Okay, and their language became bonded with. Their language bonded with. No, I wouldn't use this. Let's see, to bond with someone is to have a good relationship with someone. Or bonded with. Or it sounds like glued to. No, to merge. To merge. It merged with. Okay, to merge. Merge to For example, you've got two roads and these two roads merge. We'll see Willie the Conqueror. Yes. Okay. To merge is where two things become one, particularly. You're joining two things together. Bonded to me, gives me this feeling of you're taking glue and you're sticking them together. To merge is to bring together. Married with, allied with. Allies are friends who fight together. So, and let's continue. Ealát, North Sami. Okay, this is the people from the Arctic Circle. Whoops. Okay, a near-untranslatable word used by the North Sami reindeer herders in the Arctic, referring to favourable conditions that let, allow, grant, admit reindeer to dig for nutritious lichen under the snow, become intertwined with. Yeah, you wind them round each other, P. Bond to. Bonded to is much better than bonded with. Yeah? So, you bond the two surfaces together. Allow says Oksana, let says Yuri, allow says Julia, allow says Jack, coalesced with. Coalesced is a good word, Patricia. Allow for Yuri. Let says Vicky, allow says Manisco. Yuri then says let without to. Exactly. That let reindeer dig. Hi Vandana, lovely to see you. You can't use to with let. Allow for Alexander. Welcome El Cappuccino. Allow for El Cappuccino. And let them dig, but allow them to dig. Absolutely. Admit no. Let goes without to. Absolutely. Grant. That grant them the favour. No. It's allow them to dig. Very definitely. Let's dig into our Eton mess. Okay. North Sami and other Sami languages are intricately entwined, involved, tied, lashed to the way of life of the Sami indigenous people in Norway, Sweden, Finland and Russia. He failed to notice and he was unable to conquer. Vini vidi vici. Unless it's passive, I was let to see. Ha! Notice, Alexander, let in the passive. I was that you see. We don't normally use this. I was let to see. No, they let me see. I was let to see. I wouldn't use let in the passive. They let me see. Okay, tied for Vandana, tied for Julia. Tied for Oksana. Tied for Oksana as well. So, allow for the previous one. Yes, Patricia. Entwined for Cappuccino. Entwined. So I would say they're intricately entwined with or entwined in. I was allowed to see, yes, but not I was let to see. They let me see. Smash the like, as Julia says. So Victoria goes for entwined as well. I would say entwined with the way of life, not entwined to. Entwined with. Tied to. Entwined, they're intricately entwined with the way of life. Lashed is another word meaning tied. Involved with, entwined with, involved with, tied to, lashed to. Tied, that's it, Vicky. tied, related. That's it, Lando. Entwined, but I want to put that entwined with. So they're tied to the way of life. For example, interlinked with. Lash out, yes. The surfboard was lashed to the top of the car. Hi Rainyard, great to see you. So to lash, a lash is to tie two things together. Eyelashes, Victoria. To lash out with to react. Okay. For example, there are more than 300 Sami words for snow and many words for different kinds of reindeer, including several distinctly, completely, absolutely, specifically for frightened reindeer. Enmeshed too, enmeshed with again, specifically, says Oksana. Hi Manish, lovely to see you. Specifically for Alexander, specifically for Rainyard, specifically for Julia, specifically for Nightingale. Distinctly for. I can see distinctly that these two things are different. Distinctly means clearly. Yes, it's tied to. Specifically for Manisco, specifically for Vandana, specifically for Vicky, and specifically for Yuri. Particularly, especially, specifically. Only, just for frightened deer and for nothing else. Especially could fit as well. Definitely Rainyard. But the language is changing as some ancient weather, wildlife and snow-related words are no longer relevant, related, connected, relative in the rapidly changing Arctic climate. Hi professionals! So specifically for Manish, specifically for Patricia. So these words are no longer relevant, related, connected, relative in the rapidly changing Arctic climate. So, relevant for Oksana and Yuri and Rainyard and Julia and Nightingale and Vandana and Manisco. Relevant for Manish as well. That are no longer connected to the climate and no longer related to. Prevalent in, good word Vicky, I like that prevalent in. So relevant for Lando and Alexander and Typhor and Manish and Manisco as well. The two, you failed to see the two. It's no problem, P. As long as you're here, that's fine. So they're that are no longer related to. They're no longer related to. No, relevant in. Exactly. Relevant in the climate, related to, but that in no. Germane, good word Alexander. Germane, relevant, good word. So I'm no longer relevant. Gluschdich, Pennsylvania Dutch. A word meaning I'm not hungry but I feel like eating. Pennsylvania Dutch is a language that occurred, showed, sprang, emerged among settlers in the US in the 18th century, and is now mostly used by the Amish and Mennonite religious groups. From Walter White, Germaine. Okay. So let's see. Emerged from Reynard, emerged from Vandana, emerged from Typhul, emerged from Nightingale and Oksana and Yuri and Vicky, sprang out of, and that sprang up from, perhaps, as well, emerged for Julia, emerged for Lando, emerged, originated, that sprang up among settlers, sprang up among settlers. Relevant, Jack, not related. Relevant, Jack, not relative, relevant. That emerged among settlers. Okay, that occurred, no, that showed up, it emerged. So, thank you. Whoops. That's not right. Let's try that again. That emerged among settlers. And, okay, yes, next one's. Despite, although, nevertheless, irrespective. Being so culturally specific, it's also tied to the origins of a well-loved, widely spread American holiday, Groundhog Day, called Grundsaudag in Pennsylvania Dutch. Okay, so despite for Oksana, despite for Vandana, despite for Julia, despite for Alexander, despite for Reynard, okay, emerged, yes, Jack. Despite for Nightingale, despite for Yuri. Yeah, they sprang up among, exactly, Patricia. Despite for Yuri, despite for Manish, despite for Vicky. So, nevertheless is different, Yuri. This phrase is very specific. Nevertheless, it's also tied. Regardless of being. Yes, that would work as well. In spite of being. Yes, Lando. Okay, so it is culturally specific. Nevertheless, it's also tied to the origins of a well-known. Yeah, so you need to say something, and then despite that, despite the thing before. So his English isn't very good. Nevertheless, he's a really nice chap. Nevertheless needs to come in the middle of a sentence. Despite making mistakes, I crack on with my learning. Nevertheless is a fancy but. That's very good. He makes lots of mistakes. Nevertheless, he cracks on with his English. Okay, although it is so culturally specific, irrespective of being, despite, absolutely correct, P. I like that. Nevertheless is a fancy but. That's very good, Lando. If you're writing, I think it's a very good, very nice way of putting it. Nevertheless is just a fancy but. Yes, okay. Notwithstanding the problems, they are making progress. Yes, you could put notwithstanding at the beginning like that as well. Due to the fast growth of the Amish population, the language is actually thriving, roaring, affluent, teeming and growing. So thriving for Vicky, thriving for Oksana. The language is actually thriving, roaring, affluent, teeming and growing. Thriving, flourishing, blooming, blossoming. Thriving for Julia, thriving for Typhul. So does, however, yes. Hi Vitali, lovely to see you. Being culturally specific notwithstanding, yeah, that would work. Thriving for Manisco, thriving for Alexander, thriving for Yuri, thriving, prospering for Lando, thriving for Vitali, thriving for Nightingale. Prospering, yeah, that's a good synonym, Alexander. Thriving for Manish. Hi Na, lovely to see you. Thriving for Vandana. Thriving for Nad. Thriving for Monica. So flourishing for Wolfman. Yes. Okay, thriving, very definitely. Affluent talks about being rich. Yeah, roaring going on. Teeming with people, full of people. So, as a linguist and language enthusiast, backer, patron, supporter, I love all languages. Teeming with mistakes, yeah. Teeming with fleas. So, enthusiast for Reynard and Alexander and Julia and Nad. Enthusiast for Vandana. Enthusiast for Vitali and Yuri as well. As a language and language... Okay, let's see. A supporter for a team. He's a Liverpool supporter. A patron. A patron of the arts, or a patron of of a restaurant. Is somewhere who goes to a place. So, enthusiast for Jack, enthusiast for Victoria, enthusiast for Manish, enthusiast for Peter. Welcome, Peter. Great to have you. This knife looks blunt. Nevertheless, it might help to forge open the Gordian knot and bury the rusty battle axe. Lover. That works very nice, Wolfman. Well done. A backer is somebody who gives money. An enthusiast does it for a hobby or recreational purposes. Yes. Okay, it's thriving. A backer is normally somebody who gives money for a project, Typhoon. So he's trying to find a backer for his latest project. He's looking for a backer for his scheme. You're an English language enthusiast. Yes, definitely. An enthusiast. Somebody who really loves something. Here, a devotee of... I was looking at that word, devotee. High English keyways. So, an enthusiast for Patricia as well. But there is something special. There is something special about the language of my pedigree heirloom vintage heritage. The one spoken to me when I was a child, says Rose Fisher, who grew up in the Amish community in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Aficionado, that's a good... Nardo, it's an OP, but yes. On my lineage, yes, I guess. Thank you, Keys. Heritage for Oksana. Heritage for Victoria. Heritage for Vandana and Peter. Heritage for Nightingale. Vintage. Vintage talks about the year. So the vintage of a bottle of wine. What vintage is this? 1968. Some researchers believe the universe is teeming with life. However, this optimism has faded away lately due to the recent findings in the field of astronomy. So it might be, but the universe is infinite, Reynard, and maybe that's the problem. Pedigree. Pedigree normally talks about the heritage or the previous generations of a dog. Yeah, a dog has a pedigree. Heritage for Vitali. Heritage for Julia. Heritage for Reynard. An heirloom is something that's been left in your family for years and years and years. So this ring is an heirloom. It's something that has been handed down along the generations. Okay, the pedigree of a dog. Yes, it's a pedigree. A dog has a pedigree. Yeah, and you know who its parents were. Gourmet, no. Pedigree normally talks about dogs. Yeah, it talks normally about animals. He's a person of wonderful pedigree, but of my heritage, the heritage of the things that... Heirloom is something that's passed down. Heritage, yes. Language of my family, my ancestors. Rust, it's brown. It's definitely brown, Patricia. Heritage. High white stripes, so of my heritage. Yeah, dog food with the name pedigree, yes. Yeah, okay, of an aristocratic pedigree. Yeah, you're of my vintage. Yes, definitely. Of the same year as me. Bloods. So, let's look at the next one. Well, this is going to be too long. Though she now lives in an English-speaking habitat, environment, ecology, terrain, she adds, I love to hear Pennsylvania Dutch being spoken around me, and I hope that some day okay, I'll talk about vintage in a minute, Oksana. So environment for Vitali, for Oksana, for Nightingale and Vicky. Environment for Alexander and Nan and Peter. Environment for Julia and Renyard and Yuri. Manisco goes for habitat. Normally a habitat is the place where people live, but habitat is normally for animals. It's talking more about an ecosystem. So this is a good habitat for birds. Very often foxes live in an urban habitat. The pedigree is part of the heritage, almost like an heirloom. Okay, environment. For Monica, yes. Habitat says Manish. Community says Wolfman. Okay, a gourmet for the enthusiast. Now I get it. Manish says environment. English speaking circle. It's Word. It's Microsoft Word, Alexander. A camel brown. An environment. Okay. Habitat is more for animals. Environment that we live in. The ecology. The terrain is the land. Okay, vintage. Let's see. This word vintage for antique or old-fashioned is very new. The basic meaning of vintage is the year that a wine was produced. The year when a wine was produced. So this wine is a very good vintage. The vintage is the pressing of the grapes to produce the grape juice to make the wine. And each year you have this liquid that you then ferment into your wine, and that is the vintage. That's where it comes from. Yeah, it comes from French. Vin, wine. The year of the wine. Old word chic and antique class, yes. So, she adds Comma is more common before direct speech. Direct speech, or she adds. Colon is less common before direct speech, unless it's a play quote. Yes, she adds. That's actually quite interesting. I hadn't noticed that, Vitali, but you're right. She adds, comma. I think I would almost always put comma, but you could put a colon as well. What's your vintage, may I ask? Yeah. This woman and I are the same vintage. Okay, vintage is talking about wine, and normally, let's see, we have the other phrase was a vintage car, an old-fashioned car, and that's where this vintage word has come from. I'm not very fond of this vintage in the modern meaning. Okay, so for me it means I am home. She especially likes using words from her home language that just don't entirely, quite, fully, wholly exist in English, like Gluschdich, a vintage touch. Yes, I quite like that usage, Yuri. I'm a mustard of Mo enthusiast. Yeah, j'adore la moutarde de Mo. Mo is a really beautiful village or town on the river. It's got beautiful walls. It's got this wonderful touch. So quite for Nad, quite for Yuri, entirely for Vicky, entirely for Nightingale, quite for Alexander, fully for Renyard. Nice to see you, Mohim, I'm fine. Fully for Peter, fully for Lando. I quite agree, says Alexander. Not spurious, quite for Vandana, quite for Julia. We're of the same vintage, the same age, exactly. Quite for Oksana, quite for Manish, quite for Vitali. Okay, because, let's see, don't entirely exist, entirely, fully, wholly. These don't make a lot of sense. Yeah? It doesn't quite. Okay, maybe it's close, but it doesn't quite exist. Completely, that's the problem, but quite fits, and none of the others do. It doesn't quite, the others don't quite fit. Okay, that just don't quite exist. Maybe nearly, but not completely. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to be enough for today, so we can continue with this next time. Next stream is on Thursday, which is going to be the 16th of... It still has the idea of class, not low value. It really exists. Yeah, they don't really exist, so to say, yes. 16th of January at 3:30 p.m. UK time. Been great having you, Vitali, thank you. I'm home, I'm in my element, yes. Okay, so thank you all of them. It's been great having you. It was nice chewing the fat with you. Yes, you could say that, Vicky. So I hope to see you all on Thursday. Let's see. I've got to... Thank you, Manisco. Lovely to have you. Thank you to Alexander and Julia and Lando and Manisco. Thank you to Manish and Mohim. Thank you to Nad and Nightingale and Oksana and Patricia and Peter and Renyard and Typhor and Vandana. Thank you to Vicky, Victoria and Yuri and Vitali. Thank you to Jack. Thank you to Lando, thank you to Manish, thank you to Monica, and thank you to anybody else that I might have missed. Thank you to Wolfman. Okay, no, I can't see you, but you can see me. So, bye for now, Vicky. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Vandana. Thank you, all of you. It's been great seeing you. So, take care, all of you, and I hope to see you all on Thursday. So.